You're listening to Radio Mayapur with the best devotional, meditation, kirtan music, and inspirational podcast. This is Radio Mayapur.
Hello everyone, Hare Krishna, this is Ganga Das, your host for today podcast. We are in Milano Medolaco. The weather is beautiful, it's a little cloudy, it was very hot, now it's becoming cool, certainly. And today we are very, very fortunate to be in this wonderful temple. There is a lot of devotees. We are very, very fortunate to have a podcast with Madhusevita Prabhu, who I know him from the very beginning of my spiritual life. He guided me always in good way. And I met him in Mayapur in 1979. So he's born in Rome on 1952. And of course, after his study and he traveled to India, he ended up in Kathmandu, and in 1973 he met the devotees and his life changed. He went on a spiritual platform quest to understand the truth. So we are very, very fortunate that in Radio Mayapur today we have Madhusevita Prabhu. So welcome, Madhusevita Prabhu.
Thank you, Ganga Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, in those years, the late 60s and early 70s, the world changed because of Prabhupada's arrival. Actually, I first met the devotees in 1969 in London. And it was at the end of 1969. We were going to London to enjoy.
Sure.
Enjoy was the Christmas marathon, the Christmas holidays, not Christmas marathon. Marathon of sense gratification. It was a marathon of sense gratification. So myself and three friends, we were strolling through London in Oxford Street. And then I wrote this in an offering to Srila Prabhupada many years ago, on a Vyasa Puja offering. Then a devotee approached me with a magazine, and he offered it to me. At that point, I was stunned. I sort of felt like petrified. And my three friends were still walking. They were continuing to walk on Oxford Street. I stood still and I couldn't move. And this devotee was trying to give me the magazine. I couldn't move.
But that was due to the appearance of the devotee?
I don't know. No,
something
happened to me. A voice in my heart said, I've come back to pick you up.
Wow.
Something in my heart.
Wow.
So, in Italian, sono tornato a prenderti. It was in Italian.
Yeah, right. So, he was in Italian, the person.
No, the voice was in Italian in my heart.
Okay.
So it translated means I've come back to be. So I couldn't move. It was just like my body was petrified. Nice. So the devotees kept trying to give me the magazine. After a while, he said, okay, this guy is strange. So he went away. But still I couldn't move. So, after about 2-3 minutes, he came back because he said he's still standing there.
It's like a statue.
He tried to give me the magazine. At that point, somehow or other, I felt terrified. And I started running. Something I wasn't prepared for this experience. So I ran back to my friends. Then a couple years later, I had gotten married when I was 20. And me and my wife were in London. She wasn't a devotee. I wasn't a devotee, of course, yet. So we just saw the devotees, and I ran away. Again, I said, no, let's go away. And I was terrified by the experience I had had. So then later on the 1973, by land, I reached India. I went through Turkey, Persia, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan. Then India. I went to India. I went to see the Dalai Lama. Was not
Meklodganj.
Meklodganj. I was not impressed at all. After so many thousands of kilometers. We just meet him. We had an audience with him, and he just said, "Live a good life." And I said, well, even my grandfather could tell me that, live a good life. So what? It's not that I have, traveled 7,000 kilometers to hear that. So I went up to Nepal. And interestingly, a group of 2 or 3 people wanted to go up to Johnson.
Yes.
In Pokhara.
Yes.
Johnson. So we started from Pokhara Lake. We went up, and before arriving to Johnson, I said, "What am I doing with these people?" They were doing the usual stupid things that young people were doing at that time. So I decided to walk back alone. 7 days up, 7 days down, the trekking goes. So while I was walking back alone, I was walking on the Gandaki, on the side of the mountain, that is over the Gandaki.
Gandaki River.
Yes, Gandaki River.
Where you find all the Shalagram Shila.
All the Shalagram
At that time you didn't know, of course.
I didn't know anything about. Yeah. And I slipped, and I almost fell in the Gandaki. It would have been a 25, 30 meters, fall. Probably died in the... But somehow or other, I got stopped by a piece of wood, and I didn't fall in. Nice. But at that point, something changed in my mind. I kept walking like with adrenaline. I kept walking, and I went down, and I stayed in a room for 2 days looking at the ceiling. I didn't know. I said, what if I had left my body? Where would I go? Then I woke up. I got up from this bed, and I walked to Swayambhu, which is near Kathmandu, and I rented a room in a small mud hut, and closed in the adjacent room. 2 sannyasis came.
Wow.
Devananda, who was had been Prabhupada's secretary, and Rishikeshananda, who was also, was the first devotee to go to India in 1967. So these 2 devotees, somehow or other, we had, they were in a particular state of mind. You could say that they were getting out and I was coming in. So we met on the doorway, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not that they were getting out. I don't want to be offensive. Rishikeshananda is a nice devotee still, and Devananda unfortunately left his body, but they were getting back into the use of LSD and this kind of stuff, which we took together, and that was the turning point. I saw so many things that I don't want to describe. But I couldn't imagine them. They must have been real because, I didn't have any informations in that regard. So that was the turning point in my life. After a big battle within my mind, I used to go every day from Swayambhu down to Kathmandu. Saying I have to run away from these people. I have to, I was terrified. They're going to take me away to some other world. So every day I would go, but then in the evening I had to come back. So after a week like this, and there was a bunch of freaked out people on the way. There was someone who was going also from Swayambhu to Kathmandu every day, running on one leg and yelling, Jesus. So he was walking down, me too, a bunch of mad hats. So at one night I went to them and I sat on the doorway and I said, okay, I want
to the sannyasi.
Yes, and yes. I want to become a devotee. So they took me. We opened up the first temple in Kathmandu, a very unique type of temple, because of the particular sadhana, you could say, that was maintained there. It was called the bakery, and we had the Sunday feast, and people started coming. Nice. it was, you couldn't say there was exactly aligned with the,
with the parampara,
the parampara and the, but people were coming, we were chanting Hare Krishna.
Nice.
And I remember one incident, in the beginning, I was dressed as a sannyasi because there were no brahmachari dresses
right.
that time. So they gave me one of their sannyasi dress. So I was dressed as a sannyasi with a long sika and like that. So one time I was walking with my japa beads and one freak, one hippie, all, desperate. He calls me, grabs me, come here, come. And he takes me into his motorhome, and his girlfriend was lying there. She seemed to be dead, probably an overdose of drugs or whatever it was. So he was, yelling, do something.
He was freaked out.
So was freaked out. So I started chanting Hare Krishna in the ears of the girl. I started Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I was afraid of him. I said, this guy is gonna kill me. So Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So and then I said, it's done. Don't worry. She will wake up. And I ran away. Then the day after, he came to the so-called temple, the bakery, with a big piece of, ashish, saying, she woke up, she has, she came back to life, thank you, and this is an offering for your temple. So these were the timings. Now, by Krishna's grace, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, I felt that something was not really in line, with because I started reading the books, and even though my English was school English and I wasn't proficient in English, still I could read and understand. And then I said, there must be something different. It's too different here.
Whatever you read and whatever we do is something else.
Whatever we do they are two different things. So I started developing the desire to go down to Vrindavan.
Right.
And but there was no money. So, one particular thing, I was playing guitar. I had a guitar with me, and I was playing guitar. So Rishikeshananda, one of these two devotees that preached to me, he had been a famous singer. A real famous one. They had gone #1 in the world.
What was his name?
Group with the record "Children of the Sun" by the group Misunderstood. In 66.
Oh.
So that's why we met. We were I was playing guitar. He was singing. So he said, well, don't go to Vrindavan. We'll go to London and do something. So he wrote to Mukunda Maharaj.
Who was already in London.
Yes. And he said, I have a guitar player and myself, I want to get back into music. We'll get there. And can you speak to George Harrison? So Mukunda Maharaj wrote back saying, yes, I spoke to George, and you two can come. So we didn't have any money. I wrote to my father, please send me some money. And surprisingly enough, we were in Nepal. The bank there, Nepal Rastra Bank, you go in the bank, and there was the counter with written official. And then there was a small thing on the right in the bank with written black. You could do.
You change the money white or
officially, or you could change black in the bank. So after 2 days, some news come to me that your money has arrived. I said it's not possible.
Your father
in 2 days,
send you the money.
And I had asked for a couple $100 or $300. My father had sent $900.
Whoa!
So I thought this is not possible. It can't be my father. It's a misunderstanding. So the money stayed there. The money stayed there, and my father was refunded after 3 years. They gave him back the money from the Nepal Rastra Bank.
You didn't go and take it?
But I didn't go and take it because I couldn't believe that in 2 days, days, the money had arrived and it was $900. I said, the $900 is, it's not possible. So what happened is that, I said, the money is not coming, I want to go to Vrindavan, So I collected some money and I went down to Vrindavan. I arrived in Vrindavan, and there, I was welcome. There was Guru Das, Yamuna, Surabhi Swami, Gunarnava. The temple was under construction. I mean, it was the end of 73, beginning 74. And so, and they asked me about the preaching in Nepal. When I told them things, he said, well, the standard is different. The real standard is this. So they really put me online regarding how to chant, how to, regarding the regulated principles. It was a nice time. It was a little bit cold. I remember there was a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, Anand Maharaj. Mm-hmm. There was the cook. Oh. He was cooking, and his chapati boy was a devotee that then became, a sannyasi on himself. Then he left, whatever. So, and I stayed there. Then Vishnujan Maharaj arrived in those areas, and he said, we're going to go with a boat down to Mayapur. Tristadyumna was there, Baba Budi Prabhu was there, Sri Vallabha. So they said, you join us, let's go together. So after distributing some time in Delhi, magazines, and we took a boat, and
this is the same boat which was
the original boat,
which is still there in Mayapur. No, it's disappeared.
No, Nitai Pada Kamala is the boat which I went on the first. You went on the first trip of Nitai Pada Kamala. That was inaugurated by Prabhupada. No, this was a boat rented with the Majis, the boatmen, the sailmen. Three of them. They were sleeping with us. It was a small thing. We were all inside this boat, going down the Ganges, and we would jump out of the window to go and take bath, But it was beautiful during the sunset. We would sit on the top of the boat, and Vishnujan Maharaj would sing bhajans with his harmonium, bhajans, and it was very nice.
So the adventure continued.
The adventure continued. It was very austere because I don't know for what reason in the world they had decided we'll just eat, and this went on for 17 days. We'll just eat puff rice and gur. And the gur was the worst type of gur that you can imagine,
Yeah, because in that side of the world, you don't get a nice gur like in Mayapur. You get this.
You don't get the date gur.
It's the gur for the animal.
This is exactly
the ball with all dirt inside.
With all the
straw and stuff.
The straw and the sugar cane pieces inside. Yeah. So what we do, in the morning we would eat more sugar and less puff rice because it was breakfast. And then at lunch, more puff rice and less sugar. And in the evening, we would cook the puff rice in a big pot and make it puff rice, gur puff rice balls and distribute it in the villages.
That's called moha.
Moha, yeah. And but everyone had stomach problems, big,
sugar, because this ferments in your stomach.
Ferments. Yeah, we had the runs, it was
that was not good diet.
Very, very, very austere. Only I remember in Nityananda's appearance day, we got some vegetables and cooked something. It was a relief that day. But for 17 days we went on like this. Then we had to leave the boat. And
but the Majis, they were eating somewhere.
The Majis were eating whatever they wanted.
But they cook themselves, or they go and eat outside?
No, they go now. They cook themselves. They could eat fish or whatever. Everything. So then we had to leave the boat because of the the waterfalls were there. You know,
there
was
is
dangerous.
this level. There is this level.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was dangerous. So we took a truck, went to Mayapur. And shortly after, Srila Prabhupada arrived, and my first encounter with Srila Prabhupada was before the 74 festival, the inauguration of Mayapur, actually, where I got initiated in the beginning of 74. And unfortunately, I was a little bit inexperienced when we went to greet Srila Prabhupada. My dhoti wasn't put properly. So I was close to Prabhupada's car and jumping, and my dhoti fell off. And Prabhupada was just looking at me in copy, in underwear. And he probably thought, I thought, he must have thought, oh, how will the movement go on with people like this? And I can even put on a dhoti. Then I got initiated in 74 in Mayapur. It was very nice. And
there were not so many people in Mayapur at the time, maybe 20, 30 devotees?
No, not many. Only the Lotus building and the baths. Well, there weren't even bathrooms in the Lotus.
There was
they weren't ready. We had to go out and, like this. Then
how many devotees were there at
I
time?
Can't remember.
20, 30?
Yeah,
maximum?
probably,
maximum.
And then, in 75, I got initiated. I got the second initiation in Vrindavan at the inauguration of Vrindavan.
Nice.
But in Mayapur, yes, I stayed there for 4 years. I used to come back to Italy and distribute books for short periods of time and get my visa, but I was a Mayapur Chele. Mayapur devotee, and I stayed there. And it was a bit austere, but it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And then we finished the Lotus building. Then the long building started. So many nice remembrances of those days. Then I went to Calcutta. After coming back,
you were the vice president of Calcutta.
Yes, I was the vice president. In Mayapur, I was the temple commander.
Yes.
And I used to take care of Prabhupada's room, clean Prabhupada's room.
Nice.
And Janani was, I have a set of deities that are very similar to Lord Chaitanya, the Srila Prabhupada in his room. Yeah.
With the long arms.
Yeah. Beautiful. And Janani was given to me.
Wow.
There were only 2 sets. One I think he kept, one I have. Since the last, when I came to Europe, back to Italy, he gave them to me. Nice. So that's then I went to Calcutta, and I was Prabhupada's guard outside his room in Mayapur, outside his door. Yeah, and I used to be very inexperienced, I have to say. Once I remember, and I was sort of a young devotee. Once I served Srila Prabhupada his meal, Palika had cooked, so she told me, give him these kachoris, the buris, so I went up and I gave him the plate. Prabhupada said, thank you. Then I went out. Then this big life member, it was, with his family, came from Madras. He said, I am #1 life member of Madras. I want to speak with Prabhupada. Wow. So I was intimidated, so I knocked at Prabhupada's door, and Prabhupada said, yes. He was there in Gamsha, taking his prasad, sitting down on a mat, as he usually did. Yeah. I said, Prabhupada, there is the #1 member from Madras. It's like, and Prabhupada looked at me, I'm taking prasadam, okay. I said, oh, go and tell him I'll see him later. I saw Prabhupada a little bit annoyed by the fact that I had disturbed him by taking prasadam. So anyhow, I was a little bit inexperienced, but somehow or other I was tolerated. Then in 77, after getting my visa, I came back to India where Prabhupada was in Mumbai. And I saw him there, and then I was dispatched to Mayapur by Bhavananda, to Calcutta, and then I stayed there for 4 years in Calcutta until beginning 81 when I came back to Italy. In Calcutta, I used to do membership. We used to maintain Mayapur. Adridaran and myself used to go out.
7,000 rupees a month, I remember.
Yeah. Mayapur had no income at that time.
No income.
And there were no tours, there was nothing.
There was nothing.
So
nobody wants to go there.
Nobody wanted to go there. But, I have to say, to his credit, Adridaran had this idea of making the tours and
Rajarishi took to all the big life members there. He preached to them to give donation.
And so Mayapur started having its own economy. In Calcutta also, we started due to the genius of a devotee called Yogesh Chandra, an American devotee. He had the idea of getting books sponsored. So in 1977. Shadadanya came first in the world, Adridaran second, and Madhusevita Das, myself third in the world. Because we used to go to life members, was the first time, nobody had ever thought about it. Yes. And so, can you sponsor 10,000 small books? I used to get people sponsoring 5,000, 10,000 small books, and we would get them and then get them distributed. So we came out first in the world. Nobody would believe Calcutta, from USA, from Europe, Calcutta, first in the world. They must be cheating. No, but it was true. We distributed a lot of books. And in Calcutta, after Srila Prabhupada's demise was, of course, there was a very sad period, but we tried to preach in Calcutta and going out every day in membership. Once I went out, maybe I'm speaking too much, but
no, that's nice.
Once I went out,
historical.
It was the hottest day in 125 years. They said. So I went out, and it looked like I had taken a shower with my dhoti and kurta.
You were wet because of humidity. It's 98%,
and I don't sweat. I'm not, and my body doesn't sweat much. But still I was like drenched in sweat. So I got out in Dalhousie Square, and
One minute, how did you go? You didn't take a car at the time.
No, we used to have a car.
Yes, have a car. Okay. Ambassador?
We used to take a taxi.
Oh, you take a taxi. Okay.
So I go out, I think it was 1978. I go out of the car drenched in sweat, and I had to cross Dalhousie Square, So while I'm crossing Dalhousie Square, I become cold like ice. I said, "Oh, a stroke is getting me," because I had no hat, nothing, But somehow or other, I could walk up to the Writers' Building. There's the Writers' Building in Calcutta with the porch,
Yes.
So I sat. This is funny. So somehow or other, I sat on my suitcase, on my briefcase, where I had my life membership stuff. I sat on my briefcase under the porch, and I stood still for like half an hour because I couldn't, my body
didn't react.
And people would come and put coins.
They thought you're a beggar.
Rupees, they get rupee. They saw that I was there, begging, sitting there, like, cross-legged with closed eyes. Then I found a bunch of rupees, when I get up. And so these are things that happen. I stayed in Calcutta, and to make it brief, till beginning of 81. Then I came back to Italy. I took up a temple in North Italy that had some debts, etc., and we put it back on shape. Then we opened up a nice restaurant in Milan where all the top people of Italy would come, the Prime Minister, everyone. Govinda, yeah.
Still open?
Still open, yes, after 42 years.
Nice.
41 years, sorry.
Years, yes.
And then, things went on. Then after the fall of the Challenger, the zonal acharya thing, Krishna gave me the service of initiating Guru in 1988. So then I started accepting disciples. Not too many. I saw Srila Prabhupada, the way he dealt with his disciples, and he knew them, and that was the sweet thing, to have, personal relationship. And then I got married. Actually, I'd gotten married in 1983, 84, 84, I think, 83, 84, with the first Italian devotee, Ali Krishna Devidasi. And we didn't think of having children, but just producing book. In 1986, all Prabhupada's books were done in Italian, Chaitanya Charitamrita.
She translated all these books.
She translated, and I produced, in 2 years, 3 years, everything was done. Then
that means the BBT is established at the time in Milan.
Yes, we had the BBT established. Yeah, it's still here.
It's still here,
yes. You can see we have a big building, and for our languages, Italian, Greek, Dutch, etc. And
but you also took responsibility as a GBC governing body commissioner.
That happened after the birth of my. They asked me to become GBC in 1989. I said no, because my wife wanted to have a son, which was born in 1989. Yeah, and then I became a BBT trustee. Before I was just a manager in 1991. In 1992, I became a GBC for Italy and other parts of Europe, Belgium, Holland, etc. And now I'm still offering some little service, and I hope I'm not discouraging anyone.
Not at all.
in my service. And
but let me ask you a question. What is the most challenging service as a GBC? Because I'm sure there is so many things happening. I want to be positive, but I'm saying, what is the challenges you find as a movement expands, it grows, and there's a lot of people and a lot of temple
I'll be very
in general.
Frank. Thank you for the question. I'll be very frank. At one point, Srila Prabhupada had said, we have enough centers, we have enough devotees. Let's boil the milk.
Let's make the kheer.
Let's make the kheer, because I've always seen Srila Prabhupada, not running after quantity, but
quality.
Running after, he really wanted certain quality. So the most challenging thing is for GBCs, but for every devotee, for every leader in the movement, when the expansion is not commensurata, you say in Italian, is not sized with our capacity to boil the milk.
Right.
Okay, so I see a great expansion, but surprisingly enough, I see temples where they don't keep the deity worship up to standard. Wow. There are many temples in the world. Prabhupada said, at least maintain what I've done.
Yes.
Okay, now there are many temples in the world where, very few residents. I'm not saying that there should be only residents, but there should be a balance. There should be temple residents and there should be congregation.
Yes.
Now, because of the expansion of the congregation, the overexpansion, in my humble opinion, of numbers, we are suffering in certain temples. There is no proper deity worship. In some temples, no one lives in the temple. They go and offer deity worship from devotees that live outside. I've heard in the United States. And we are not making Western devotees very much, which Prabhupada wanted so much.
So much.
And therefore, I think we have suffered with overexpanding due to thinking of numbers, due to thinking of figures in our movement. And we have underestimated the power of Kali in, attacking our movement.
Yes.
And therefore, we are spread thin, and there is a great difficulty in maintaining a certain quality, the quality of devotees that Prabhupada wanted to keep. I think this is the greatest challenge for the GBC body.
Right.
To keep unity, and of course, there will be diversity. There must be diversity. I made a presentation to the old GBC body many years ago, 10 years ago, in Unity and Diversity. But those who, you can't encompass and metabolize everything in our movement. When you have a big expansion, there'll be differences. Certain differences can be tolerated within ISKCON.
Yes.
Certain others, they have to, they become relatives of ISKCON.
Right.
They are not part of the inner family. And that courage the GBC body has to have to ascertain. So I don't want to go further with that, but this is the greatest challenge for our movement for the future. Stop expanding, inflating like anything. Think of the quality and think of something that can endure and last for decades, as Prabhupada wanted. So thank you very much.
1 minute, last question, because now things are changing in the world. At the time we become devotee, you become devotee before me, and there was this, people searching for something. But I said new generation, and so I don't know. I cannot understand.
The problems
I cannot relate. I cannot figure it out. The problems are the same, but their approach is not like, okay, let me find out, let me figure out. I don't know. I cannot understand how we could, how we can preach to this youth, because they look like they're not interested, or they look like...
You can't generalize.
No, of course.
Ganga Prabhu.
Sure.
Even at our times, there were people just interested in drugs to get stoned. They didn't search for anything, and many of them have died, or or become weird, etc.
Yes.
Now you have it's only the change is only apparent. It's only superficial. It's only external. There are people that want to know. But they are not. They don't have the same dresses, the same language that they have in the 60s or 70s or 80s.
Obviously.
But they are there. So the types of people are the same: innocent, envious, and potential devotees. Or devotees. Yes. So we have to be convinced about that, because otherwise, someone in what I judge in an offensive way, says that Srila Prabhupada's books were good for that particular time, place, and circumstance. The language, etc. Now we have to change the language and the approach to the devotee. I mean, Prabhupada spoke against...
change anything. Don't change anything, Prabhupada.
Not only, in the 60s, 70s, we were fighting against the war, Vietnam War, that. Yes. Prabhupada said, no, war is good, like Arjuna has to fight. Yes. So we were long hair. Prabhupada said, shave a head, free sex, no sex. You know what I mean? So, we shouldn't be overly influenced by the apparent external change of things. There are sincere souls that will want to become devotees. We have to search for those, and the same language of the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, it will convince them. So, book distribution hasn't changed.
No, it has
so
to go on.
Why should we change our approach? It's not that now we have to give certain gratifications that we couldn't give in the 60s. No. It's like, or
compromising.
We have to make changes or adjustments like this for the purpose of compromise. Nothing. The more, Prabhupada said, if we were intelligent, we would have conquered the world in 18 days.
Yes.
That means, without doubts, go ahead and spread Krishna consciousness in a direct way. So that's my answer.
Absolutely. Is there any message you'd like to give to the Radio Mayapur people listening to us today?
That I'm missing Mayapur, Radha Madhava, and I'm a Mayapur Chele. So
I hope you will come for festival this year.
Yeah, definitely.
March, so we're missing you, Madhusevita. Thank you so much.
I come every year.
Yeah, thank you so much for this wonderful time you have spent with us, and hope that we will be able to contribute in some way, because we are explain to people.
No, it's a beautiful initiative.
Yeah.
Radio Mayapur is a beautiful initiative. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Ki Jai.
You're listening to Radio Mayapur with the best devotional, meditation, kirtan music, and inspirational podcast. This is Radio Mayapur.